Hello grade 8, how are you today? I hope you all are safe and well. Today we will study in chemistry about chemical reactions. How can we recognize chemical reactions and why we are using chemical reactions, and also where can we find these chemical reactions or how can we use them. Okay, please open your books on page 132 and grab your highlighters and follow me. Chemical reactions. What is a chemical reaction? So we studied before about compounds, we studied about mixtures, and we said compounds, we can make compounds by chemical reactions. So what is this chemical reactions? So look at these three pictures and what is the link, what links them. Okay, here we have trees. They have photosynthesis. This is a chemical reaction using carbon dioxide and water. This is cooking. She's mixing things to have a new substance, okay, because some of these ingredients can blend together to form another compound. We cannot separate it. And also the food that cooked, this is a reaction also. And this is chemical reaction in the lab. So the picture shows places where chemical reactions happen. In fact, chemical reactions happen everywhere, all the time, even inside you. So we have chemical reaction like digestion, which is we are using hydrochloric acid to digest the food. And scientists study chemical reactions in laboratories too. They use them to develop medicines, fuels and materials. So if you have a question here, we use chemical reactions for what, or scientists using chemical reactions for what? So we are using them, they are using them to develop medicines and fuels, also materials. All chemical reactions create new substance and are not reversible. We cannot take the ingredient back. We cannot reverse the reaction, okay? We cannot take the reactants, or we cannot take the substances back because they formed a new substance already. So how can they create a new substance? The substance you end up with are different from the ones you started with. So for example, if we have a hydrochloric acid and we want to mix it with another metal or something, that will form a salt. Okay, this salt is totally different from the ingredients in the beginning. Okay, for example, if we have also let's take a very simple example, which is the photosynthesis. When photosynthesis is taking place, it needs to have two reactants, which is carbon dioxide, and water. When they react together, they will form a new substance, which is glucose, okay, and give us also oxygen, release oxygen. So this is a new substance. It's not like the substance that we started with. Also are not reversible. That means at the end of the reaction you cannot easily get back the substances you started with. We cannot take from photosynthesis, it formed or it produced oxygen and glucose. We cannot take this glucose and like separate it into oxygen, carbon dioxide and water again, because it's a new substance. We cannot split it. Okay, so now how can we know, or how can we recognize the chemical reaction when it happens? Okay, there are 4 signs for chemical reactions. If the chemical reaction is taking place or happening, we can say easily. Okay, we can see four sciences, or one of these 4 sciences. So signs of chemical reaction. You can do an experiment in the lab. How do you know if it was a chemical reaction? There are many clues to look out for. You might see huge flames or tiny sparks, you know, like fireworks. Fireworks, when we flame them, they can produce a spark. This is a reaction. This is reaction. Or you can notice sweet smell or foul stink. That means sometimes in chemical reaction they can produce something very sweet, sweet smell or sweet odor. We can smell it. Or something stink. Okay, it's awful. Okay, this is another sign for chemical reaction. Also, you can feel chemicals getting hotter or colder. Very simple example about this, which is the Clorox that we are using in our homes. If we touched it with our, if we mixed it with water, we can feel the heat on the container from outside. This is another because this can produce a chemical reaction. And also, if we this is dilution, of course, not chemical reaction, but it can react with the bottle itself. Also, we can hear a loud bang or gentle fizzing. Gentle fizzing, like bubbles, very small bubbles, like when you open the soda can, you can hear fizzing, or loud bang, like explosion or something. Okay, so these are 4 signs for a chemical reaction. So by the end of the reaction, as we said, that what you see probably looks very different to what you started with. So sometimes even the color can change from a colorless to white substance or yellow, or sometimes from colorful solution to colorless solution also. Combustion reaction. Now we have this is one type of reactions called combustion reaction, which is the burning reaction. We call it combustion. Any reaction that produce or release heat, we call it burning reaction or combustion reaction. Okay. Magnesium. Farah heats a piece of magnesium metal in a Bunsen burner flame. She looks away quickly and shields her eyes. Suddenly, there is a bright white flame. This is the reaction here. She's holding a magnesium metal and she's burning it, and as you can see, white flame. The flame soon goes out. White ash remains. So she saw a white ash produced, and no more flame. We have to remember every time, if we want to deal with any chemicals or any reactions, we have to use the protective goggles, and we have to use gloves, and we have to be careful about the risks or the hazards. Farah explains her observations. She saw a chemical reaction because we said we can see a flame. This is an example. This is one sign. And also we can see a new substance, which is the white ash. In the reaction, magnesium reacted with oxygen from the air. The white ash is magnesium oxide. It was made in the chemical reaction. So when she burned the magnesium metal in the air, the oxygen atoms joined with the magnesium and formed magnesium oxide, which is MgO. The substances that react in a chemical reaction are reactants. This is a definition. I might ask you, what is the meaning of reactants, or what are the reactants, or define the reactants and define the products. So reactants are substances that react in a chemical reaction, and the products are substances that are made in chemical reaction. These are called products. The reaction of magnesium with oxygen is an example of burning or combustion reaction. So if I asked you, give me an example of combustion reaction, you can say burning magnesium in air, burning iron in air also. So this is a combustion reaction or a burning reaction. Any reaction in which a substance reacts quickly with oxygen and gives out heat and light, this is a combustion reaction. This is another definition for a combustion reaction. So what is a combustion reaction? It's any reaction, or it's a reaction in which a substance reacts quickly with oxygen and gives out heat and light. Halim does a similar experiment. He finds the mass of a piece of magnesium and heats it in crucible. This is the crucible, okay? This is the crucible. It's an equipment, we are using it in the labs to heat substances. He lifts the lid 3 times during the reaction so that air can get in, because he wants to use a combustion reaction to make a combustion reaction, so he needs oxygen. So here he covered the magnesium, he covered the crucible, but when he used magnesium, piece of magnesium, okay, but 3 times he opened the lid just to to allow the oxygen to get in. Halim works out the mass of the product. So how can he get the mass of the product? It's greater than the mass of the magnesium he started with. This evidence that magnesium has joined with another substance, which is oxygen, from the air. So how can he work out the magnesium oxide, or the amount of magnesium? When he measured the crucible before and after reaction, he found that the weight or the mass of the crucible increased. That's a proof that a chemical reactions is taking place or happened, and new substance formed because oxygen atoms joined to the magnesium and formed a new substance. So this is how he worked out the mass. He measured the mass of crucible plus the lid together. He put the lid on the crucible and he measured it. He found it 30 grams. And then he measured the mass of magnesium ribbon alone. He found it 0.24 grams. Then he measured the mass of crucible plus lid plus the product, okay, together after the reaction. He found it 30.40 grams. So the mass of the product, he took this, the total mass, which is the total mass of the new product, with the lid, with the mass of the crucible, and he subtracted the mass of crucible and the lid. In this way, he got 0.40, which is the mass of the magnesium oxide. Okay, this is the mass of magnesium oxide. Here, carbon. Chan heats a piece of carbon in the air. It glows red. Its mass decreased. So, when Halim made his experiment, he found the mass increased. But Chan here, when he burned this piece of ribbon, piece of carbon, okay, or when he started to heat the piece of carbon in the air, the mass decreased. So what's the explanation for this? So he explained it that a combustion reaction has happened. Why? Because he saw a color, a flame, and heat. Carbon has reacted with oxygen from the air to make carbon dioxide. So what is a carbon dioxide? Is it a solid? No, it's gas. So from the carbon, it formed carbon dioxide and escaped as gas. So in this case, the mass decreased. This is how the mass decreased. The reactants are carbon and oxygen. The product is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a colorless gas that escapes into the atmosphere as it's produced. So this is the result or the explanation that he got. Okay, so when he started to heat, then he found the mass decreased. He found that the carbon reacted with some of this carbon reacted with the oxygen to form carbon dioxide and escaped as gas. So now let's go to the summary of the lesson. Chemical reactions. Chemical reactions create new substances. Chemical reactions are not reversible. So we have here examples of chemical reaction like combustion reaction, which is these are combustion reactions, like magnesium Mg plus oxygen O2 give us magnesium oxide, which is MgO. C carbon O2 oxygen give us CO2, which is carbon dioxide. So here are the reactants. Here in this side we have the reactants, which is the magnesium with oxygen and carbon with oxygen. The products are here on the other side. After the arrow shows that chemical reaction is happening or is taking place. Okay, and the product is magnesium oxide and carbon dioxide. I hope you understood the lesson. Don't forget the homework and don't forget to write these notes in your notebooks. So if you have any question, please write it down. Stay safe and see you soon. Bye bye.